Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of July 8th through the 14th of 2024. Alright, so this week we have quite a few things going on actually. The most important being that of course we're still in the very early phase of this new lunar month. We did just have a new moon late last week, and so we are just slowly building momentum this week. It's good to continue to plant new seeds. And when we do get to the weekend, we will be in the first quarter moon, which is much better for implementing and where things get very clear and where we can really be, again, pushing things for this lunar month. So that's the backdrop of the week, but we do have quite a few, first of all, sign changes. Mars is going to be going into Taurus on Wednesday. So that's completing the more fiery and direct energies of Mars and Aries. Now starting to get more grounded in terms of our actions, a little bit more grounded, resourceful, one step at a time kind of energy. And later in the week on Friday, Mercury will go into expressive Leo, the first of the fast movers to go into there. So great to start to think in the sense of what we love, what we're passionate about, and perhaps starting to communicate that way as well. And then of course we've got our aspects for the week, midweek, the Sun trine Saturn. Maybe some groundedness, Venus trine Neptune on Thursday, maybe some receptivity to be enjoyed. And then on Friday, Venus opposite Pluto, maybe some depth and transformation in both our values and relationships. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, July 8th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You won't see this in mainstream because unfortunately they don't use the visible sky, and so the signs are different. There's very different placements. For example, I'm going to say that the sun is in Gemini, but maybe you're expecting the sun to be in Cancer right now. So if you are, definitely check out that link down below on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so let's do a bit of a recap since we do have some sign changes, and we did have some sign changes last week with Venus. So again, the most important thing is that we just started this new lunar month late last week, Friday, Saturday of last week. And so this is still the time of planting seeds for this new beginning. It's a great time to experiment coming into the week, to try new things, to see where our mind wanders, and again, to start to slowly build some of that momentum. Once we get to the later part of the week, again, specifically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, will be definitely much more in that first quarter action-oriented phase where we're much clearer in terms of what this lunar cycle is about and what personally we want to implement this lunar month. So starting the week there, a bit of that subtler energy, lower energy starting to slowly increase in terms of more actions. This is all in Gemini, it's where the new moon was. So it's still great to be focused on learning, being curious, being interested, and maybe even a little bit of a focus on communication or some social energies. This is still the case this week, as we can be certainly gaining energy by doing this with the sun still here. Venus has recently shifted sign into more protective Cancer to join up with Mercury. So both of these planets now adding to that protective nature. Cancer is all about creating that protective environment for ourselves and others, and connecting more to our feelings, our emotions, and helping others do the same. So with Venus, it can really come through in our relationships and what we could be enjoying right now. And with Mercury, perhaps thinking this way and communicating this way could be a theme. But again, Mercury will shift into Leo a little later in the week on Friday, but certainly definitely a lot of Cancer coming into this week. Now Mars is going to slowly start to shift into Taurus this week. And so we'll probably start to feel this around the Wednesday time period. But Mars is finishing Aries, so it's a great week to finish up anything in regards to being very direct, taking initiative in our life, asserting ourselves, going after what we want. So this has been very strong here with Mars's transit of Aries. So that's still strong, that fiery energy coming into this week. All right, so breaking this down one day at a time, starting first with Monday, July 8th. We've got some minor sextiles, just a little bit of an opening here for that Venus and Mercury in Cancer. So these two planets in Cancer, again, enjoying connecting the more protective qualities, but can really come through in our relationships in our day-to-day lives is just having a bit of an opening for a little bit of expansion, a little bit of freedom. Both Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus has been this year of being open-minded about possibilities, potentials, what's inspiring us, how we can have a little bit more freedom in our life, how we can do more of what speaks to that freedom. And so maybe a slight step in the right direction with this, maybe some openings, maybe some doors openings for us to walk through in regards to cultivating this yearly energy of that sense of freedom, open-mindedness, and really a little bit of experimentation with both of these planets. Coming into the week, the moon will be in Leo. In fact, we really only have two main signs that the moon will be in this week. First, it's Leo, then it's Virgo. And the reason is that these are two very large constellations. So for the first 3 days of the week, Monday through Wednesday, the moon will be in expressive Leo. Great time to be connecting to our hearts, doing what we love, spending time with those that we love, and all in all, just expressing ourselves. Great time for fun, playfulness, maybe a bit of creative energy. That's really forming the backdrop to these first few days of the week here. So fast forward to Wednesday, and we've got that Mars starting to get closer into Taurus, as I was saying. So there is that sort of more grounded approach to our actions slowly starting to come in there. And seeing how it's important to take things one step at a time and really muster up our inner resources when we're taking action. Mars and Taurus can really speak to our very self-reliant nature, our very resourceful nature, strong self-belief, self-efficacy. There might be some issues, of course, coming up with this, as Mars does help us transform a lot of these deeper energies. Maybe there are some things that we can reconnect with in regards to self-worth, self-value, and things of this nature. But good to, again, start to move that energy forward. And Mars will be getting closer to Uranus. By the way, they'll conjoin Monday of next week. So as Mars gets closer, maybe there's some innovative ways to be self-reliant, to connect more with nature, to be more resourceful. These kinds of Taurus qualities with Mars entering into there can really add to that grounding sort of nature, again, especially in regards to how we're taking actions in our life. Now, also on Wednesday, the sun will be trining Saturn, both Wednesday and Thursday. And so there's some grounding energy here as well. Trines to Saturn tend to make us quite disciplined or patient or persevering. And so anything that does require a bit of that responsibility or long-term view can be quite supportive these couple days here. And then as we start to get into Thursday specifically, again, the moon will go into Virgo. And so for the rest of the week, Thursday through Sunday, the moon will be here. And so this is all about also a grounding energy, and in this case, in terms of improvement, usually with Virgo. So it's a really good week, Thursday onwards, to see how we can improve things, how we can fix things, and focus on what we do have control over in our lives. And really that thing we do have control over is ourselves and our immediate environment that we have control over. So really good time for things like personal development, health, self-improvement. And then, of course, things in our immediate environment like our work or our service, or again, improving our lives a little bit. So anything that's about that fixing, improving, refining is really good. This is where we're going to have the first quarter moon on Saturday. So it's all about how we can cultivate a bit of that curiosity with Gemini, while at the same time, that improvement nature of Virgo. So Gemini is very flexible. In fact, both of these constellations being mutable signs are about cultivating more flexibility in our life. So while it's a time to be curious and interested and light on our toes that way with Gemini, it's also great to see that we can create flexibility through creating more structure. Yes, structure can create more flexibility in our lives, such as through our routines, such as through healthy habits, such as through our work or service. These are things that we build in life that actually give us more flexibility. So great to, again, cultivate flexibility, to challenge ourselves this later part of the week. And how can we do that in a way that's both interested and also creating some structure in our life? Might be a little different, a little challenging to do being a first quarter, but again, a great time to do that nonetheless. Now again on Thursday, Venus will be trining Neptune. So this can be another supportive aspect where we could feel a little bit of harmony with our enjoyments and our connections in life. Maybe feeling a little bit receptive, a little more willing to go with the flow. Maybe in those relationships, a bit compassion compassionate or accepting there. A nice supportive energy from the more spiritual planet of Neptune to our day-to-day connections in life, which is Venus, and our day-to-day enjoyments as well too. So very nice to enjoy a little bit of that receptivity there on Thursday. Now once we do get into Friday, that Venus will oppose Pluto, and so this is a good time for some transformation. We had Mercury oppose Pluto around this time last week, and so how can we get deeper with our connections, essentially, right? And to find the balance too, because Venus is the part of ourself that really just wants to enjoy things and maybe again connect to life and people in our lives. But then Pluto really wants the rawness and the depthness. And so these two being in opposition can mean that these can seem like there's a rift between these are very different, right? There's the wanting to enjoy, and then there's that wanting to get to truth, which maybe may not be enjoyable, or that wanting to have a simple connection and that deeper connection. And so how can we merge these two together, blend the enjoyments with the deeper qualities of life, the more surface level values and the deeper values, and in a way have this merging which leads to more richer, more deeper, more enjoyable connections. And so anything that sets that intention to do so. I would say with all oppositions, it's always good too to reflect on the past 6 months with this, because about 6 months ago, Venus conjoined Pluto, starting that Venus-Pluto cycle. And so now we're in the halfway point with that. And usually with oppositions, we can get some new insights. We get a sort of different perspective. And so based on that perspective of what we enjoy, what we value, who we want to connect with, that can again help us make these shifts and changes so they are more deeper, richer, and more meaningful. So great to do that. Anything around that level, being non-attached can help facilitate that process, as Pluto does oftentimes lead to, needs transformation and change. And in order to have change, we do need to be non-attached and willing to let some things go. In this case, maybe some values and maybe some ways of connecting to things or people in our life. So great for that intention there. For that transformation, probably a result of some of that deeper transformation coming out of that. So again, going into the weekend here, we'll still have that moon in Virgo. We will definitely be in that first quarter moon by this point. This is also the time, Friday into Saturday, that Mercury will be entering Leo. And so we'll probably start to notice a little bit more of maybe that thinking around what we love, what we're passionate about, and probably feeling a little bit more like expressing ourselves. So a little bit of fire there behind the mind, and could be a creative mind, could be an expressive mind, and anything that is on that level, I think is fantastic there with expressive Leo. All right, but the first quarter moon again on Saturday, mostly here, but the whole weekend really, is how can we challenge ourselves to incorporate the flexibility of curious Gemini, and let's call it creating structure, that creates more flexibility with Virgo. And these two, again, being very different, air and earth, can be integrated. And when we're integrating these two, again, it can be a very constructive time of the month. In fact, arguably the most constructive time of the month. And all in all, any new intentions, any new insights from late last week, really good to start to implement, challenge yourself. Yes, maybe there's some challenges coming in to test us, to build some of that strength of character, but we can do that. It's can be a very constructive, like I said, time of the week for moving these things forward. Just will likely take a bit of that intention, a bit of that action, and a bit of that self-willed energy that the first quarter can often require. And then, like I touched on earlier, at the very end of Sunday going into Monday of next week, Mars will be conjoining Uranus. So good to, late this weekend, maybe start to get a bit innovative. There's probably this sense of wanting some freedom, some change. Again, listening to some of that excitement that may have been opening earlier in the week with the sextiles here. Now with Mars, a new cycle with Mars, in fact, a 2.5-year cycle with Mars and Uranus. So I'll talk more about this next week, but essentially Sunday, good to start to get into some of that progressiveness, innovativeness, challenging the status quo a little bit, most importantly, challenging our own status quo, such as through experimentation and such, in the context of what we want, in the context of our goals, and in the context of where we're putting action into our lives. All right, everyone. So quite a bit going on this week. To put simply is, of course, the first quarter moon late this week. We're slowly building momentum into this new lunar cycle and then starting to challenge ourselves to implement it the second half of the week, let's call it. We do have quite a few supportive energies the first half of the week, some minor sextiles in terms of some openings here to be open-minded, maybe listen to some freedom. Again, the things in the context of the past few months already regarding what we've been a bit open-minded or free-spirited about. And midweek, some grounding with Saturn could be nice. Some receptivity with Neptune could be nice as well, followed by perhaps some transformations of our values and our connections, such as our relationships with Venus there. We've got those sign changes this week. We've got a little bit more grounding energy, certainly, coming in with Mars in Taurus, the moon in Virgo, and there was one other thing there. But a little more grounding energy, and the shift also with Mercury going into a little bit of that creative energy of Leo, doing a little bit more of what we love, a little bit more of what we're passionate about, with Leo now starting to get more activated. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below to check that out. It's absolutely free. Just type in your birth details. You get a printout of your sun, moon, and rising sign descriptions in True Sidereal. And if you're new to True Sidereal, definitely check that out, see if it resonates for you. But again, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.